precious time. We'd like to chant a simple bhajan. It's called as Jai Radha Madhava. The lyrics are very simple. I think you'll be able to follow. So we'll chant it for 5 minutes and then we can discuss a little bit on Bhagavad Gita. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Jayo Brajanaranjana Yashodanandana Jayo Brajanaranjana Yashodanandana Jayo Brajanaranjana Yashodanandana Jaya Bhajanaranjana Yamuna Tiravanchari Jayo Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanchari Jayo Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Clap. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Jayo Brajanaranjana Yashodanandana Yamuna Tiravanchari Jayo Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanchari Jayo Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Gyantimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're going to read from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1. We started the chapter 1 last time. We did the shloka number 1. We did the setting the scene. How was the scene during the time, at that time, Mahabharata. And in the first verse itself, we hear that Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjaya. We know the 4 characters of Bhagavad Gita. Who are they? Anyone remembers? Krishna and Arjuna. Perfect. So, the Dhritarashtra has only one, he speaks only one verse, which is the first one. How many of this young friends of mine have remembered that? Or memorized that? Okay, anyone? Okay, no problem. So Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjaya, my dear Sanjaya, now, he didn't say my family. He says, Mamaka Pandavaschai, right? We talked about it. So that's what Dhritarashtra was. Dhritarashtra was not externally blind, he was internally blind as well. When a brother dies, the elder brother must accept the sons or the kids of his brother as his own brother, as his own children, right? But Dhritarashtra, right from the beginning, was very envious actually, He was just supporting Duryodhana, basically, against Pandavas, against the children of his own brother, right? And he says, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre, right? Because he knew this is a place of Dharma. So then that's why he's asking. So Sanjay is asking, what kind of stupid question is this? You're in a battlefield. What are you going to do? Play kabaddi? Or play cricket? No. They're going to fight a war. But it is said, the intrinsic mentality, the internal mentality of Dhritarashtra is being highlighted by our Acharya. So Acharya he thinks, because it's a Dharma Kshetre, Duryodhana should not change his mind. When a thief comes to a temple, so sometimes he gets this, doesn't want to have theft in the temple, or a drunkard, he becomes a little sober, right? So he feels Duryodhana should not change the mind, which means basically he wanted the war to happen. But what we hear, because of Krishna, the war happened. See, he could have done something, right? We easily blame Krishna, right? But it's actually Dhritarashtra, because of him, the war had happened. And Sanjaya actually says in the following verses that yes, they will fight. And internally, actually, Sanjaya is trying to tell him that actually because of you, the war is happening. Had you been not so attached, Dhrita, Rashtra, Rashtra means land, and Dhrita means one who's very strongly attached to land is Dhritarashtra, right? He never wanted to leave the kingdom, despite knowing that Yudhishthira was basically a proper king. He was more qualified. So it's the same thing in today's political system. You have people who are not qualified. They are sitting on the chairs, on the political chairs, and what you have is chaos. That's why Mahabharata was required to establish dharma. That's what Krishna explains in the 4th chapter later. That why this war was necessary. Otherwise, you have unscrupulous people like Duryodhana who will become a king, and then it's going to rain chaos in the society. So immediately after that, Sanjay is saying, Sanjay said, "O king, after looking over," can somebody read? Are you carrying your copies of Bhagavad Gita? Who are those sincere souls here who's carrying the copy? Thank you. Wonderful. So you will get a chance to speak. Maybe Mataji can start. Yeah. No, second verse. You can read the translation? Yeah, you can read translation directly. That's okay. No, I meant to say translation is English. They can read. Yeah, Sanjaya said.
Okay, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words.
Yes. So now Sanjaya starts to speak to Dhritarashtra. And in the purport, immediately Prabhupada is explaining, that's why, if you have to understand Gita, you have to understand it by the mercy of the Guru. So he's explaining here, Dhritarashtra was blind from birth, but unfortunately he was bereft of the spiritual vision also. It's sometimes, it reminds me of the story of the Yaksha. How many of you like stories? How many of you like stories? Please raise both your hands. Because people just raise like that. I don't know why. That's why I say raise both your hands. So Yaksha is asking the Yudhishthira Maharaj, all his Pandava brothers, they come to a pool of water, to a pond, to drink water. Yaksha asks all of them, please answer my questions, because I am the boss. This is my pond. But they neglect it and they start drinking the water and they die. When Yudhishthira Maharaj comes, he actually says, okay, what are your questions? Of course, many people speak many things. Some say 51 questions, some say 100, but that's not the purpose here. But important question he asks him, he says, what is the most funny thing in this material world? What is the most funny thing? Tell me, what's the most funny thing? What do you think was the most funny thing in this world? Give wild guesses. There's no negative marking.
I think that everyone of us know that we will be living as a short time, but the way we accumulate wealth and everything, and if we are living a purpose.
I think Yudhishthira said something very close to that. Yudhishthira said that everybody is seeing. Yes, please.
Humans are the most friendly.
Oh, that's that actually is correct. So what he said is, everybody knows and he sees his relatives, parents, neighbors going to the abode of Yama. But somehow he feels that I'm immortal. I'm going to live here forever. My dad just passed away, but I can stay here forever. He says, I find it very funny actually. How can you believe that? It's not just one person, it's everybody, right? One who's taken birth is sure to die. But death for us is very scary. It's actually just like life. Somebody said, who is younger? The grandmother or the granddaughter? Who's younger?
Grandmother.
Exactly. Because in a few years you'll have a new body, Baba. What are you worried about? Right? So Gita begins with that knowledge when Krishna starts to explain that to Arjuna. We're going to read that in second chapter. Okay. But this is very important aspect. Why Yudhishthira Maharaj was actually a quite capable personality. So Dhritarashtra is like that. We are also like somehow or the other many Dhritarashtras who are blind to spiritual vision, bereft of spiritual vision, and just want to accumulate and accumulate. If accumulation would have led to happiness, my dear friends, my dear, devotees, Bill Gates would have been the happiest man on earth. You always hear Bill Gates is the wealthiest man, but he's not the happiest man. Very simple. And what are you looking for? Money or happiness? Huh? Happiness, actually. But you think it's in money. No. If it would have been there, the richest people would have been the most happiest people. Actually, they're the most miserable. And then, it's the Duryodhana is speaking. Can anybody read the third one? Now here you see there's some things being spoken by Duryodhana, and he goes to Dronacharya first. Why? Because he was a Brahmana. He didn't go to Bhishma, who was the commander-in-chief. But Duryodhana knew the etiquette a little bit. But he was also very diplomatic. Now look how he taunts his own guru. What do you say? Behold the army, my dear teacher, the great army of the sons of Pandu. So expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Who was son of Drupada? What was the name of daughter of Drupada? Thank you. I was under very tremendous stress when I asked this question. I wanted to hear some answer. Drishtadyumna was the son and the brother of Draupadi, right? So we all know the story. How many of you know the story of friendship between Drupad and Dronacharya? No? They were childhood friends. They were in the Gurukul, they studied together. Now here's one principle. Now Drona was a Brahmana, was a poor Brahmana. Drupad was the son of a king. They both studied in the same school. That's what is equality of education, right? Not the modern way of education. That's nonsense actually. The son of the king and a poor Brahmana, they studied together. And Drupad, of course, they became good friends. And once when Drona had nothing, he actually went to take some help from Drupad. He was the king that time. But what he did, he rebuked him in front of everybody. He said, "You're a beggar. How can a beggar and a king can have friendship?" That's typical material friendship that we see, right? As soon as some of your colleagues go up in the hierarchy, in the company, they forget, right? Or even relatives sometimes, right? You see, they get some material possessions, they forget you, right? So Drupad did the same thing to Drona, who was very heartbroken actually. And then he became the guru of the Pandavas. This is the difference. Let's just take this point. How Krishna's friendship with Sudama, right? We can draw parallels, right? Drupad. This friendship bore misery, sorrow. What did Drona do? Drona went back, taught the Pandavas. Pandavas became powerful. Then told Pandavas, now go and get this rascal. Chain him. This is my Guru Dakshina. They bring him and he insults him. Now for a Kshatriya, insult is like death. You don't have to kill Kshatriya, you just insult him. That's equivalent to death. Right? Then what does Drupad do? He goes back, goes to the Brahmanas. I need a son who should kill this Drona. Then from the Yajna comes Draupadi and Drishtadyumna. He was born to kill Dronacharya. He was born. So this is one friendship which is leading to one catastrophe to another. Revenge after revenge, right? There's nothing constructive coming out of it. That's what happens in our life. Right? Many of our relatives treat us badly, then we say, okay, I will show you who am I. that's all we do, right? And in this fight of revenge, we lose a chance, or we lose a valuable human form of life, actually. So much of time and energy. Imagine Drupad doing all these yajnas and this and that, and then the children come out and he raises them to do what? To kill. Krishna, on the other hand, look at that friendship. Krishna was the king of Dwaraka, right? 16,108 wives, right? Somebody, of course, people blame Krishna. Why he had so many wives? I had only one and I'm terrified, So, how could he manage 16,108? I can't even manage one properly, right? But Narada was surprised because some people blame Krishna like that, right? He was a debauchee or whatever, But he was present in all the palaces doing different activities. So with Rukmini, he was playing chess. He went into Satyabhama's palace, he was eating something. And he went to some other palace where he was joking. So Narada was surprised. So that is, people want to imitate Krishna. But they have to know what Krishna did. If you can hold Govardhan on your little finger, then you do Ras Leela, that's okay. People drink a lot of, intoxicant, imitating Lord Shiva. But drink a little poison as well before that and hold it in your throat. You cannot, right? So imitation is very cheap. What we need to do is follow into the footsteps, right? So you can see this parallels between the friendship of Krishna and Sudama. Sudama came to Krishna. They're completely broke. They have nothing to eat. And he gets this chipped rice bought from somebody. He keeps here. And it's all with sweat. For maybe a month, he was walking up to Dwarka. And then Krishna snatches that. Right? And then Krishna takes one. Krishna takes second. And for the third, Rukmini said, my Lord, enough. You're so indebted to Sudama now, and he's washing his feet. The whole Dwarka felt, who is this beggar, this naked beggar? His torn clothes. But this is spiritual friendship. But Sudama doesn't ask anything. Krishna knows why he had come. But Sudama feels that, why should I ask Krishna for something material? Why? And he goes without asking. And when he goes back, what he sees? In the place of his broken hut, what do he sees? He sees a multi-story palace, bedecked with jewels, with pearls. We keep them in safe. His pillars were made with sapphire, studded with diamonds, right? And then he sees this most beautiful apsara, like beautiful heavenly lady. And he says, oh, sorry, Google didn't work properly, so I came to the wrong address. She says, no, my dear husband. He says, oh, what kind of husband? My wife is a very poor Brahmin lady. She says, no, I'm that lady. She says, this is the mercy of Krishna. So look at the constructiveness in this kind of friendship and the destructiveness in the other kind of friendship. That's why Duryodhana is taunting Drona. That despite knowing, he's actually calling him a fool. He says, despite knowing that this man will kill you, you taught him. How stupid of you. Isn't it? Actually, Drishtadyumna comes to Drona and he says, I want to learn. And Dronacharya says, yes, I'm a Brahmana, I am there to teach. I will distinguish. So he teaches Drishtadyumna actually. Very interesting, right? Because Drona knew. He's born to kill, that's all right. But I will not shirk my responsibility of teaching. Sometimes we behave bad because somebody else behaved bad. That is the wrong thing. We must stick to good. We must stick to our responsibilities. It's very important. That's what Gita is all about. Everybody wants power. But nobody wants responsibility. With more power comes more responsibility, isn't it? Many kids, especially I see young boys, they want to be the head of the family. But ask the grandfather, ask the father what it takes to be head of the family. Ask the mother what it means to run a house.
Prabhuji, Drona is going to teach the children about why he refused to teach Eklavya.
Okay, that's a good question. He says, why did he neglect Eklavya or ignore him? Eklavya came from a tribal area, like your mouse, see, you know, those Marcus guy. So they would actually ambush, they were against the government. They were against the Kuru dynasty, they were against the king. That's why he actually neglected him. He still fought the war. He was killed there in the war in Mahabharata. Even without his one thumb, he did fight. But Drona knew that this gentleman will actually use that against the kingdom, against the Kurus. That's why he didn't. And as I said, the Varna system was very clear. You need to have that guna. As I said, just by giving power, you give a Shudra a power, unqualified person, he will create chaos in society. That's what is happening today. That's why you will pick up people very carefully, choose. That's what Duryodhana, Krishna said, Duryodhana should not become the king. He will create chaos, though from a Kshatriya race. So he didn't belong to Kshatriya race, that was number one. Number two was that those people were actually against the government, was against the kingdom actually. That's why he neglected, ignored him. And so the Dronacharya is showing by his own example that how one should be responsible. One should not shirk his responsibility. Most of the times this happens in our life. Somebody behaves not in a correct way and we also try to neglect our own responsibilities. And that's one important lesson. And the other one also is, as we go on in the next text, he says, here in this army are many heroic bowmen equal to fighting to Bhima and Arjuna, great fighters like Yudhana, Virata and Drupada. Now he's talking about the army of his enemies. This is a very good diplomat. One must know the strength of the army. But he's glorifying a little bit. Actually, it's coming his inherent fear within Duryodhana that is coming out. When he sees this army in such an amazing way, he wasn't expecting that. That so many people will be joining Pandavas because Kurus were the kings of the land. And their army of Pandavas was almost 50% of the army of size of Duryodhana. But he forgot they had Krishna. And that's the most important factor of Mahabharata and Bhagavad Gita. That Pandavas had Krishna while Duryodhana always felt maybe Bhishma, maybe Drona, they will kill everyone and they will protect me. And why he's also doing this to instigate Drona is because he knew he has some soft corner for Pandavas. That's why he wants to instigate that. Can somebody read text 5? You guys can also read text 5. 5 and 6, 5, 6, 7 together. Can you read? Louder.
There are also great heroic, powerful fighters like
Drishtaketu, Chakitana, Kashiraj, Puruchi, Boja, Shaibya. Next. Yuddhamanyu, Uttamanuja, son of Subhadra. So now first he talks about the enemies, how powerful is the enemy. But immediately, he does mention about Draupadi here, Subhadra's son, Abhimanyu, and 5 children of Draupadi. Draupadi had 5 kids from each Pandu. Preeti Vindhya, Srutasena, Shrutikirti, Satankiyata, and Shrutasena. They were the 5 children of Draupadi who were actually later killed by Ashwatthama when they were sleeping, right? That comes in Mahabharata. And he also mentions Yudhana, whose name was Vikarna. Why? Because when Draupadi was being disrobed, he was the only one from the Kurus, from the Kauravas, who kind of stood up and said, hey, what is this nonsense you're doing? So he felt he might change his mind, so he does mention him, also if we can see that later, that will come. So then he of course talks about his own military, so that he wants to build that confidence after talking, about the Pandavas and how the army is, Draupadi's sons or Subhadra's sons, and etc. And then he talks about his own army in the text number 8. Their personalities like Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwatthama, Vikarna. That's why he comes Vikarna here. And the son of Somdatta, who was also called Bhrishava, who were always victorious in battle. And now, of course, he wants to glorify his own army, So this is a typical, diplomatic way. That's what you see in your, especially in professional life, companies. You see these diplomatic behaviors of bosses and management and this and that. There even is something like that, praising him, picking up that guy. Now he will glorify Bhishma so much, but then he will immediately glorify others and say, hey, please protect him also, so that they shouldn't feel bossy. If everything you're talking about Bhishma, 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 we also feel like that sometimes, right? Sometimes, in our offices, our boss may praise just one guy, and then you feel like, why are you called us in the meeting for, right? So Duryodhana is being very diplomatic here, actually, in terms of, but still, you see, despite trying so much, he still lost the battle. Now, what is the learning for all of us? Is that if it's a battle between diplomacy and righteousness, righteousness will always win. Sometimes we do feel our kids should be smart, street smart. They won't see that. This is straightforward. इसको कोई भी exploit कर सकता है. Anybody can exploit my kid. Sometimes we feel little careful in this world. But honestly speaking, have faith in Krishna, have faith in God. If he becomes a wonderful devotee of God, of Krishna, nobody can cheat him. Righteousness will always win versus diplomacy. And that's what is important. That's a very important learning for all of us. So, one way, of course, learn to be responsible from Drona, that despite knowing he will kill me, he did his duties, he fulfilled his duties. Like a dutiful mother, for example. Sometimes kids don't listen to mothers. They take them for granted because they're always there for them. But mother never goes back on her responsibility. She ensures that my son, my daughter gets 100% attention, never goes back on her duties. No shortcuts, right? And that's something which is very important. We all must follow that example. So being responsible is number one, and number two is diplomacy versus righteousness, right? And then we see how he glorifies, Bhishma and everybody else, and then there's this description which we call as the signs of victory. So the signs of victory are given, that follows in the following verses, when Bhishma blows his conch shell. So he starts to glorify Bhishma. I'll just give him some encouragement. So he picks up conch shell starts to blow. And then becomes very pleased. Right? But actually what Bhishma is trying to tell him, my dear grandson, is a conch shell, this conch shell. Whose sign is that? In whose hand you see conch shell? Yeah, you see Vishnu, Chaturbhuj form. He always has conch shell, right? So conch shell is actually a sign of Vishnu. So what Bhishma is trying to tell him, my dear grandson, this conch shell is blowing and you feel very happy. This conch shell is actually, I'm saying, is Vishnu is on the other side. There is no hope for you, Baba. But I will fight. I will put up my responsibility, but there is no sign for you. And second, actually it's explained later about of course Krishna was there, that was second point of sign of victory. In the 14th verse, Krishna is mentioned first time in Bhagavad Gita. This is verse number 14. I think let's take it back. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. Transcendental. For Bhishma it was conch shell, but for them it was transcendental. How many of you know how did this chariot? It's a great chariot. Do you know the story of the chariot? How did Arjuna get that? How many of you know? It was gifted to him by Agni. So Agni once, one king who was doing a lot of yajna was pouring ghee like anything. We say swaha, swaha. Who is swaha? Do you know? Swaha is the wife of Agni. So it's through wife he accepts oblations. Radha Krishna, Sita Ram. Who comes first? Feminine or masculine? And sometimes West comes to India and says, we will teach you feminism. You see, even the rivers are by the name of mothers. Mother, Ganga, right? Ganga Mai ki jai, Yamuna Mai ki jai. Because of this very source of life. Right? So, anyway. What was the point I was making? Story, yes. So Swaha, so he ate a lot of ghee. So his stomach became upset. Yeah, it does happen. Not just with you. If you were too sweet, Indra had a lot of ghee. So Brahma, he prayed for Brahma, Indra, and he said, oh, there's this one forest. Anyway, it's supposed to be burnt, so you can consume it, come rasta, and then you'll be okay. But in that forest lived a serpent called as Taksha, who was a friend of Indra. So as soon as Agni would try to consume it, Indra would send clouds. And then he went back to Brahma and says, hey, you know what? You got a conflict of interest. So Brahma said, no problem. He says, you go to Krishna and Arjuna. They will sort it out. So then of course Arjuna helps Agni actually to consume that. And then Agni of course, they tell Indra, don't worry, I think Taksha has been already put in some proper place. He's alive, your friend. And then Agni gifts Arjun a special chariot, which is drawn by these beautiful horses, which were given by a Gandharva to Arjun, actually. And that time, of course, Agni also gives Sudarshan Chakra to Krishna. But actually, it's just an external pastime. Sudarshan Chakra is always with Krishna. But here, Agni takes that credit as a pastime. Because the habit of the father is always to ensure, glorify his sons. Isn't it? Parents always like that. Sometimes the daughter cooks a little bit. She just sees what mama is cooking. And when somebody eats, she says, oh, my daughter made it actually, But she just did something like, or maybe added some sugar or salt. That too after asking the mom, And mom says, no, actually she made it. Because they like it. So in the same way, Krishna, like that father, likes to glorify his devotees. That's why when you see, think of Mahabharata, who's the greatest warrior in Mahabharata? Who's glorified? Arjuna. Exactly. Krishna is actually in a lower platform, isn't it? You know, the chariot driver? Now you have to communicate, right? You communicate on the battlefield. Now how do you communicate where there are millions of people? And there's so much of noise. How do you communicate? No earbuds, no Bluetooth, nothing. How do you communicate? Do you know? How did they communicate? Huh? Why you know? So it's a chariot and there's so many thousands of people and Arjuna is killing, right? There's no time to rest. So it is said when Arjuna had to go left, he would kick Krishna on the left side with his left leg. So Krishna knew, I need to go to the left. Then you kick him on the right, that means he has to go to right. Imagine you are driving the car in Singapore. Backside is your kid. He slaps you from right, that means you take right. Don't do it. They're planning something here. Then you slap your dad from your left. That means he'll take left. You know what the dad is going to do? He's going to come out of the car, thrash you, kick you out of the car, leave you on the road, and then drive home. Krishna tolerated it for 18 days, my dear devotees. This is Krishna. This is the heart of such a Lord. That's why we should worship Krishna. Right? And 18 days, how many times during the day Arjuna must have done it? That's how they would communicate. As an old song, but it has a deep meaning. He says, प्रेम के बस अर्जुन रथ हाँक्यो प्रेम के बस अर्जुन रथ हाँक्यो भूल गए ठकुराई सबसे ऊंची प्रेम सदा. It says, born by the love of Arjuna, Krishna left that he is a king. He forgot. And he became Arjuna Rath Hankyo. He became his chariot driver. He became his driver. That is the power of love. You may be a big managing director at your company. When you come home, your son has become a horse and he climbs on you and then pulls your hair. Right? That's what Krishna is. Right? So this is a very important aspect of spiritual life. But Krishna does it only with people who are surrendered, like Arjuna. So if we also surrender unto Krishna, we will have the same reciprocation from Krishna. That is what Bhagavad Gita is all about. That's why when you will see in this chapter, this is the beauty of Bhagavad Gita. When Arjuna starts asking those questions, and finally Arjuna says, I think it's getting too much. He says, I surrender. Please teach me. And then Krishna says, don't worry, I'll take you. And that's where Bhagavad Gita starts to explain. So if we also, you don't have to be as qualified. Oh, we're not qualified. He was Arjuna, he was like that. No. That's why Bhagavad Gita has come to all of us. Because it is meant for all of us. Arjuna was just a medium. He was a pure devotee of Krishna. But Krishna put him in that position so that he asked those questions on our behalf. Bhagavad Gita has never changed. 5,000 years ago, same shlokas, same verses, everything is same. What happens to our school, this thing? What we read, our children reading the same thing? A lot of changes. They keep doing changes. Bhagavad Gita, it never changes. It's same. Okay? That's why it is a timeless knowledge. It's a timeless tree of wisdom. And one must, once you draw Krishna towards you, into your heart, this knowledge automatically gets revealed. That's what happens with Arjuna. In the 9th chapter, Krishna says that. Why I am giving you this knowledge? Because he says you are non-envious, you are my devotee, and you are my friend. That's right. So we can have any sort of relationship with Krishna. Kamsa had a relationship with Krishna. You know Kamsa, right? How many hours he was thinking of Krishna, do you know? 24 hours. but in form of death. He just wanted to kill Krishna. He was terrified by Krishna. And a devotee also thinks of Krishna, but in a more positive way, right? So you can have a relationship with Krishna. Sudama had as a friend. Yashoda has as a parental love for Krishna. Arjuna had like a sakha, right? Like a friend. Somebody's like a servant, like Hanuman. You tell Hanuman, keep your hand on Lord Ram and go for a walk. Oh, he'll never do that. He says, I'm a servant of Ram. One day what happened? This is a very beautiful story. So somebody said, hey Hanuman, Garuda went to Hanuman. He says, Krishna is calling you in Dwarka. Oh, he says, okay. I'm doing my worship. You go and come. He said, oh. So he went to Krishna. He says, what kind of devotee is Hanuman? So I told him, you're calling. And he said, wait, I'm finishing my puja. Krishna said, what did you say? He said, I said Krishna is calling you. He said, oh, you go and tell him Ram is calling you. He went back. He said, Ram is calling you. Hanuman wasn't there. So Garuda went. You know the Garuda, he's so powerful, right? So Garuda can reach in milliseconds, something like that. And when he reached there, he saw Hanuman is already there. And Krishna has transformed into Ram. Huh? That's the power of devotion. That's the beauty of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means whatever you're doing, you just add Krishna to that. That becomes Bhakti Yoga. Very beautiful, isn't it? Nobody wants you to leave your job. So what are you getting out of your job? Money, right? So you give a part of that as a donation to the temple of Vishnu, to Krishna. Take care of your family, take them to the temple, you know, buy some books, Bhagavad Gita. It needs money, right? It becomes Bhakti Yoga. Very simple. This process is so simple that you may even miss it. Okay. And the next step is by chanting Krishna's holy name. So you add holy name, which means Krishna, to your life, and do whatever you're doing, just add Krishna into those activities. Is as good as Bhakti Yoga. Like Sumit Prabhu's house. You see the most beautiful part of this house, which is very nicely beautified, is actually center of attraction is Krishna. That means you come to a devotee's place. Sometimes our best place is our bedroom or our drawing room or stuff like that, right? We want to beautify it. But for a devotee, the most beautiful place is actually Krishna. They want to give the best to Krishna. Do devotees eat? Oh, we eat a lot. But what will we make? We first offer it to Krishna. And then eat. Bhakti Yoga. Very simple, isn't it? Right? So that's a humble request. Please inculcate this. Chant Hare Krishna. Take 10 minutes of yours. You can connect with Vrinda Mataji and Sumit Prabhu after the program. How to get chanting in our daily lives. Whatever you're doing, whether you want to take a shower, without shower, standing, sitting, get Krishna. Krishna is not waiting for that. He doesn't have those, you remember those newspapers? Big bonanza, sale, this sale, that sale, and it catches your attention. And then, bottom, on the top there's this star. And then you see conditions apply. And you say, oh, Buddha banana. So Krishna is not like that. Krishna is saying no conditions. I'm available for you. Now it's our turn. We got this human form of life. Let's make the best use of the bad bargain. Chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's the message of people. And let's go, although we did just the first couple of verses, but let's go to the last verse of Bhagavad Gita. Last. So we request Gopalji to read.
Wherever there is Krishna, master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and royalty. This is my
This is Sanjay's last one. Sanjay speaks the last verse. Wherever there is Krishna, how many of us want opulence? How many of us want auspiciousness? We all want it, right? He says wherever there is Krishna, wherever there is Arjuna. But you may say, hey, हमारे घर में अर्जुन कैसे आएगा? But जहाँ पे Krishna है, Arjuna will be there. And we are also like, we will also become like mini Arjunas. Arjuna means a devotee of Krishna. So wherever there is Krishna, where there is his devotee, there is auspiciousness. There is always victory. Shri, where does Lakshmi reside? Lakshmi, have you seen pictures of Mother Lakshmi, where she sits? Too many answers. In the heart of Lord, yeah. Srivatsa. Lord has a silver lining, silver hair. It's a mark of Lakshmi called as Srivatsa. Only Vishnu has that. But at the lotus feet of Vishnu, who's sitting? Lakshmi. Because of a service, Lord, as a token of gratitude for Lakshmi. So Lakshmi is only there where is Lord Vishnu. So if you have Lord Vishnu, you automatically Lakshmi. If you have 2,000 rupee note or $100, you automatically have $50, you have 10, you have 2, you have everything. Right? Simple. Okay? So let's give it a try. Thank you, Gopal. So let's chant Hare Krishna for another 10 minutes. And then we can have the sadhana. I don't want to have any anxieties for you for the dinner part. So what is the rule of chanting? Chanting means chanting the holy names of Krishna. Now you will say we are playing instruments. Well, I don't have any instruments. But you have got hands, you can clap. It's said that when you clap in the kirtan of Krishna, all the negativities of our life go away. Even your fortune changes. Yeah. I said it once, and the people after the program were looking at the lines of the hands. Paisa aaya ki nahi? Okay, don't do that, but please remember that Krishna has appeared in your heart. So let's close our eyes with a lot of focus. Hear with attention, chant with attention, and also clap with attention. Okay? Because attention, whenever we give attention, it is said it's a sign of love. Attention to detail is a sign of love. Yeah, that's why mother knows everything about the kids. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Everybody together, louder. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Much louder, please. Let's get it together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prem se. With all your love. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Louder, please. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Clap. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, One more time. Louder, louder. Ladies.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
Gents.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Gents are louder. Ladies.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Clap, clap, clap.
Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. One more time.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
Gents. Louder. Let's get it together.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Ram. Together, louder. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Together, everyone, with all your heart. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you very, very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,